But I don't like the white meat, so what do I do when I make a turkey? And I make turkeys for myself all year round. I chop up the white meat and I separate it, and that makes the greatest stir fry. And I use all kinds of fresh vegetables in it, and it's really a great meal. But you have all this turkey that you can make sandwiches, you can make a great omelet using turkey. A lot of people don't use their imagination. Everything that you have in your fridge can be used for something else. Find out how to make it a little bit differently. And that's why I teach people to cook once a week. I mean, if I had to cook every day, I wouldn't do it, and I know it's important. I shop once a week. I cook once a week. For example, this past week, I made a salmon, a large salmon. And I made, in my roaster, I made 2 corned beefs. They were wonderful. All that for one person? Well, yeah, because I froze one. I kept one out because I'll just slice it up, and when I want to nibble in between, I'll just take it and grab. I've got chicken in the fridge right now, and I have a little rotisserie. I'm telling you, they cost about $60. You can get them at all the little stores. Mine happens to be a Sunbeam, but they have them. And all you do is put the chicken on it, and in 80 minutes, you got a wonderful chicken. So I always keep 1 or 2 in there. I take some garlic puree and take some herb seasoning and rub it inside and out. And then I put it in one of the freezer bags, and it just marinates. And when I come home, mid-afternoon or whatever I'm doing, even if I just come home, I'll come home, get undressed, relax a little bit. It's on being freshly made, and it's wonderful. All the fat drops down, and it's great. So for you that run around and run into the stores and get a chicken for $5, $6, and they think it's really a bargain, you don't have to cook, do you realize the amount of sugar that they put in the seasonings on top? So try to think about doing some of these things yourself. When things are on sale, that's when you want to buy. So on to holiday. I'm not saying not have dessert. That's part of the fun. But also it's part of the downside. Because from the time we start with Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's, our bodies are so overloaded with sugar that more people die early spring than at any other time of the year because their bodies have been hit. And you're actually putting poisons and toxins into your body, particularly if you're buying things that have all the antibiotics and hormones in them, which most of the meat does. Most people don't have the concept of buying hormone-free or antibiotic-free or washing the fruits and vegetables properly. They already come to you polluted with 17, 18 different kinds of sprays on them. They've been sitting, so they're not fresh to begin with when you get them in the store. And then you wash them under our polluted water system, and we wonder why our immune systems are broken down. And that's basically what's happening to us. So, I have a friend who, in California, and you used to always hear her say, oh my God, Thanksgiving, I always have a cold. I mean, talk about prophesying something to yourself. And I've known her for years. And for years, she'd always get a cold and sort of bronchial and everything else. And one year I said to her, I says, so Marlene, when do you want to not have your cold and bronchitis? And she looked at me like I just was nuts. I said, why do you keep prophesying this to yourself? Why don't you do something about it? I said, first of all, you're just destroying yourself by talking negatively. So she finally came in. We did a bit of a program. She didn't get terribly involved. But believe it or not, just because I said, I only want you to do one thing. She's a friend of mine. So, of course, she got my time for nothing, which sometimes is not a good thing because that's what people value it for. But I said, I only want one thing for you. I'll do it for you for nothing. You pay for the products and never say, I'm going to be sick Thanksgiving. That's all I want. Well, you know what? She hasn't been sick now for 7, 8 years, I guess. I guess we're just going into the 8th year. Just because she started using her sense and thinking about what she's doing for herself. And she doesn't do a whole lot, believe it or not. But even during that time, believe it or not, just having her learn how to eat a little differently, she lost weight over the holiday season, and weight was really an issue for her. So these are just little things, aren't big things, that we can make a little change here and a little change there. Of course, most people always think of me as their New Year's resolution. I mean, God forbid anybody wants to start a program now. No, if I went to her, I'd have to start doing this, and I couldn't have this, and I could. Everybody preconceives what I'm going to tell them they can't do. Well, first of all, I don't tell anybody anything. I make suggestions. This is your body. This is your health. If you come here, I'm going to be your health buddy, and I'm going to help you to achieve what you want for your life. Because you can't be successful, particularly women. They're running around, having a job, trying to keep the kids happy, keeping the husband happy if they have one. If they don't, they're running out trying to find one. They forgot why they got rid of the last one. But, you know, hey, I'm telling you the truth. We know how it is. So we're running and doing 20 different jobs. I want you to stop a little bit and think about what you're doing really for yourself. And you cannot be successful in life if you're not successful with your own temple. So I'd like you to think about saying to yourself, well, you know, I don't have to do a whole lot right now. I can just start and be a little more conscious. Have one glass less of wine. Instead of having the dessert every day, why not have a couple of desserts a week? Rather than just because somebody brings in chocolate and puts it on somebody's desk, you don't have to go and eat it. And if you are that addicted, you really need to call me. I can take care of that for you. I know. Hey, you're talking to somebody who lives it. Just because I live, you know, lost my weight, don't think I still don't have desires for things, but I don't have cravings for them. I don't like them the way I liked them before because I've changed my body biochemically inside, and for some reason, I guess if we go and we try to put our bodies back the way God made us, we probably live to 120. But hey, we don't want to do all that. We want to think from now. Besides, those of you who have kids have an obligation. If you can't tell the kids, you can't have this, you can't do this, you can't do that while you're doing it. You know, and they're saying you get fatter and fatter. If you do it as a family, it becomes fun and it becomes a time where you're doing things together. And most of us are so busy, we don't think about having time together. And this is what I really want to impress upon you. And if you've got a husband, you've got a boyfriend, get him involved. Get in the kitchen and have fun. And you know, I meet a lot of fellas, and a lot of fellas in my practice. They're really good cooks. You know, they've been brought up to cook or learn from their family, or they've been on their own. Let them get in the kitchen. And you can all clean up together. Nobody likes to clean up. So if somebody cooks, the other person cleans up, or you do it together. I want you to have a happy and a healthy holiday season. All you have to do is think a little bit about what you're putting in your mouth and what is coming out of your mouth. What you put in your mouth is the foods that are going to either heal you or hurt you. What comes out of your mouth is what you're prophesying to come back to you or go out into the universe. And that's what I think is very important right now for us all to know. I told you I was going to tell you, I almost forgot to tell you about the holiday turkey. You see, I'm still a foodaholic, but see how much I talked about dessert, so I must have been thinking about it too. As I've told you before, you know, Thanksgiving wouldn't be complete without the holiday turkey and the gravy and all the trimmings that go around it. And I hope you'll make some better choices this year. But I thought it would be interesting to let you know if in fact the turkey that you're buying automatically is really safe. You know, this bird has become big business and a year-round bestseller. About 100 million a year are raised for their meat, and about 170 times the estimated population of wild turkeys. So most of the turkeys are raised on big corporate turkey ranches because it's economically unfeasible for small ranches to survive these days. Turkey ranches differ somewhat in their methods of production and the selection of antibiotics and medicines that they use. Now this might shock a lot of you because you never thought anything of it. You're just looking for this name brand or that name brand and you make it with all the seasonings and you don't think about how did it get to where it got into your kitchen. So the first consideration is the approach, which will yield the biggest and most healthy bird with the least amount of investment. Only in this way can the venture be profitable to a corporation. And some ranchers report that they only make as little as 5 cents per bird in production. So you know that they have to be very, very careful on what they do to get the healthiest bird. And fortunately, birds of high quality are available, as with so many foods, but knowing the source is really the key. Consider for a moment all the various things that happened to the turkey before it reached your table. The first step in raising turkeys is the breeder ranch, where several thousand hens are kept strictly for the purpose of laying the eggs. The hens are artificially inseminated every 2 weeks, and this process is used because it increases fertility rate, and also because in present day birds are so large that the mating is difficult and obviously hazardous. After the eggs are laid, they are carefully graded according to their weight and sent on to the hatchery. Here they are put in incubators for at least 30 days, which is necessary to hatch them. The one-day-old poults are sent on to a breeder ranch for growth. Oh, that takes about 7 or 8 weeks. From here, they're ready to go to the processing plant. And they are 21 to 28 weeks old. Not very old. So while this procedure is quite standard, the differences arise in the antibiotics that are used to feed the antibiotic and the antibiotic injections which are given. And this is going to be very important because our next show is going to be on Candida, and one of the things I'm going to talk a lot about are antibiotics. So turkeys are very susceptible to disease, and for this reason many turkey ranchers add antibiotics to the feed just as a routine precaution and give additional injections if diseases strike. The main antibiotics out there, there's 3 or 4. The names are very large. They're not going to impress you, but they are used consistently for all ranchers who don't breed organically. For a continuous feeding program, they're allowed 20 grams per ton. Larger amounts are allowed for short periods of time to combat diseases only. Feeds containing these antibiotics are used by most ranchers. However, a few still existing small ranchers try to raise the turkeys without the continuous use of antibiotics. They'll just use them the first week or so and hope that that the turkeys are going to be disease-free. Disease prevention and control is not the only reason for using the antibiotics, however. Scientists have discovered that animals grow faster when they are fed antibiotics, along with their meats, so many of the ranchers use feeds that have the added antibiotics as much for a growth stimulant as for disease prevention. And I know that's going to shock many of you because it did me when I found this out. Since the amount which can be added to the feed is limited by government regulations, ranchers often counter the disease through the use of injections if the turkeys contract a disease. So, the rancher is allowed to administer antibiotics directly to the bird and is expected to abide by the regulations as labeled on the container. Now, you and I know you're giving a rancher the absolute authority to use as much as they want because there's nobody to control what is going in this bird. You know, I could go on and on about turkeys and the inspection process and all the rest of it. I just want to give you a hint of what I want you to watch for when you're buying a bird. Check your source and find a turkey rancher who limits the amount of at least antibiotics that are put in only the pre-feeding process. Other than that, why not go to your local grocery store? Most grocery stores now have organic birds. If one's not around you or you don't know what one would be, go to a butcher shop. You know, a kosher butcher shop, they don't use any of this. It's against dietary laws, and you'll know you're in a safe place and space. Purchasing antibiotic and hormone-free turkeys are available all over these days. It's not like it was 15, 20 years ago. Start by putting something wonderful in your body and not only giving health to yourself and your family and friends, but start a new way of thinking about keeping this stuff out of your body, because this isn't the way our body works. We have to put good things in, natural things in, if we expect it to work for us, not against us. Have a happy holiday.